Hey, Doug.
Hey, Christian, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, busy.
Yes.
Are you going to KubeCon?
I will be, yes.
Excellent. Let me see. Are you going to be at the face-to-face?
I'm not sure. I think yeah, I'm not really sure yet. I'm still trying to put together my schedule.
Okay.
I will try to hit I'm thinking of trying to hit one of the serverless sessions though.
Okay, cool. Well, it'll be nice to finally meet everybody face-to-face at some point.
I know, right?
Oh, boy. Hey, Mark.
Hey there.
How's it going?
Good.
Hey, you're going to be at KubeCon?
I'm in Barcelona.
Oh, cool. What's the conference? Or just customer stuff?
VMworld.
Oh, VMworld. Oh.
Yeah, it's a little bit later this year. So.
Are you going to be at KubeCon?
Yeah, I'm presenting with you.
Oh, that's right. Jeez, what a dope. The reason I'm asking is because you haven't added your name to the face-to-face session.
Oh, sorry.
Just try to nag people, you know.
Okay.
Hey, Ginger.
Morning, Doug.
Good morning. Are we going to finally get to meet you face-to-face? You going to be at KubeCon?
I am.
Excellent. Cool.
You might not want to wish for such things, but yes, I'll be there.
See, now you got to be curious.
Yeah, we actually have one of the project booths at the CNCF Project Pavilion this time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
People are slow to join today, huh?
Well, we did say it was going to be kind of a slow week, right? Until after KubeCon, so we'll see how it goes. Let's see. Scott. Hey, Scott. All right. Bala, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
I'll get the rest of your name later. Tommy, are you there? Or Scott?
You know, Doug, you're like a waiter at times that you ask them to say something right as they come online and they can't unmute fast enough.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
They got something in the mouth, eating.
Yeah. Well, I still haven't heard Scott, so.
Bonjour.
I believe that's Clemens.
Yes.
Kathy, are you there?
Yes, hi. Hi,
hey,
everyone.
Kathy. Hello.
Hi.
Colin, are you there?
I am. Hey, Doug.
Hello. And Tommy, I got you. Thank you.
Doug.
There's my Scott. All right, Scott. What about the other Doug? You there?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. Thank you. There was someone else. Colin. I already got Colin. I just said him. There was someone else.
Yeah, me perhaps.
Klaus. That's what it was. Klaus. Yeah, because you stood out at me. Because
by the way, there's this leave of absence. Or what is that? I didn't mention something like that. I don't know.
I thought last week, didn't you say you're going to be on vacation for 2 weeks or something like that, or did I mishear you?
Last week I was a bit late because I was stuck in traffic, and then everybody else left when I joined.
Okay, maybe I got you confused with somebody else, but somebody.
Sometimes you confuse me with Heinz.
Maybe that's who it was. Yeah. Okay, I'll try to find that chat. Thank you.
By the way, Doug.
Yes, sir.
I am no longer a Googler.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. I need to switch that. Okay. I assume Mark.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I assume Mark or somebody will let me know if you want to change. If you want to change who the primary and alternate is, but that's up to you
Mark's
guys.
at VMworld right now, so he's a little MIA.
No, he's here.
I'm here.
What? Oh, hello, Mark.
Hey, Scott. Actually, Doug, you can make him secondary at least.
Okay.
For now, because Barrett never shows up.
Yep. Good point. Okay. Easy enough. So, Scott, let me know, or actually, I shouldn't be asking you, should I? I'll ping some Googler to find out who should replace you on their side. Morning, Eric.
Good morning.
And Vlad, are you there?
I am. Good morning, everybody.
Hello. All right, it is 3 after. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Let's see, we got 15 people. All right, I think I got everybody right. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Wait, Tim, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello. All right. Hopefully this will be a fairly short call since we agreed to hold off on the discussion about what to work on next till KubeCon or after KubeCon. So let's see, community time. Anything people want to bring up to the group? All right. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, so today is the bi-weekly SDK call after today's call. As I said, I expect this call to be relatively quick, so maybe we can start the SDK call right after this one and not have to wait till the top of the hour. So stick on the call if you want to join that. KubeCon. We have obviously this doc here with all the information about what we're presenting and stuff. Some people have made some updates to the presentation. I think it's fair to say it's still very rough. It's not completed yet. I have gotten pings from some people that they're still actively working on it. So if you want to see a near final version, I'd hold off a little bit longer. Luckily, we still have a little bit of time. But if you are interested, obviously you look at the presentations that are here and here. For those of you who are scheduled to talk, I have been starting to put time limits on different pieces. Obviously, we could talk about that later. I do want to have a discussion with you guys at the end of the call today for just you guys, so everybody else can drop, assuming you can stay on the call that long, because I know some of you sometimes need to drop early. But I do want to have a little bit of discussion about the presentations and stuff to see where everybody's at, if you guys are okay with that. We do have the face-to-face meeting scheduled. Please, if you are planning on joining, add your name here. The link to the doc is right here in our meeting agenda. Practitioner Summit, nothing official for us going on there. Just a reminder that that is going on if you want to join. That is the day before the KubeCon event itself, so that's Monday, all day. Still working on whether we can do some sort of celebration or at least some sort of meet and greet for us to get together to at least say hi to everybody and congratulate each other. All right. Anything relative to KubeCon people want to bring up? All right, excellent. In that case, the main topic on the agenda today is actually workflow, which I'm going to hand over to Kathy to talk about. So Kathy, would you like to bring everybody up to date on what's been going on over there?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay. Does everyone know what a workflow is? Do I need to give some brief introduction of the workflow, or that's not needed?
I think you can assume everybody understands what it is because of our previous work.
Okay. So so currently, we have restarted the work on the workflow spec. We have reformat the spec, added a schema definition, and also of course fix some typos, those inconsistencies. Also have added governance spec, add extension spec. Of course, now we do not have any extension yet, but we added some framework there. I'm seeing that a new PR is created to work on the roadmap, the future roadmap. Also, we have added a new state So previously we have, several state like event state, operation state, switch state, delay state, parallel state. Now we added a new state, which can include another sub workflow into the parent workflow. So I think the main modification is to reformat the spec to make it consistent and readable, adding the schema and move use some sections to a separate spec, so it's easier for the reader to read it. And of course we have some new things, not just syntax, but some semantics change too. So I think our goal is to make this workflow spec more. I'll go to it. Also, it's my goal is to make it vendor neutral and also portable across different serverless platforms. So we would like more people to join this effort. I think the more people joining this effort, we can make this spec more comprehensive and more generic and more neutral, vendor neutral and portable. Yeah, so we welcome more people to join. If you have time, I would, highly recommend you to take a look at the new spec. It's now in a much better readable format, and then to contribute to it. I think it's a very important how to say it. It's an important component or important part of the serverless platform, because currently most platform supports only a function execution triggered by a simple event. Some platform will also, that function could run on either a type of container or type of VM, right? Either it's a Docker container or Kata container, or it's a micro VM, or it's other types of VM. But still, it's usually most platform support is just a simple function execution. But quite some applications are not a simple function. They are composed of multiple steps of multiple functions, with each function executed at different steps. And those functions could be triggered by different events at different time. So currently, the user has to manually coordinate and manage the execution and the flow of these functions. So with this workflow spec, this workflow spec provides a way to orchestrate and manage that workflow for the user. I think that's all about it.
Okay, so I think there are a couple of things, and actually, Tim, I noticed you came off mute. Did you want to ask a question or comment?
Oh, no, not really.
Okay, so a couple of things. Aside from, obviously, Kathy's been leading the charge on the workflow spec, but recently there's been an uptick of activity, mainly from Red Hat. They've become interested in the spec, and they've been working with Kathy on making changes to it. And that's sort of brought back up the entire question of next steps for the specification itself. And there has been some offline discussions about going back to the Technical Oversight Committee to propose that the workflow spec be sort of spun off into a new independent sandbox project, very similar to what we did with cloud events. However, from a process perspective, and I'm not 100% sure this is the way it has to be, but it seems like that makes most sense to me. It seems like that the serverless working group itself first needs to agree that yes, we want to fork this off and propose it as a new project. I can't imagine anybody's necessarily going to say no, but I figured the working group needs to be able to, I'm sorry, Kathy or whoever takes this forward to the TOC needs to be able to say, yes, the working group is behind this effort as a news project, or say nothing at all if we say no to it, and she's basically choosing to fork it on her own because it is open source. She can do whatever she wants with it. So what I'd like to do is, from a procedural perspective, kick off just a 1-week vote since a lot of people are not online, because we told them it's going to be a slow week, just start a 1-week vote for yes or no on whether the working group approves of Kathy or the working group subgroup taking the spec forward to the TOC as a new sandbox project. Is that saying okay with people, or is there a different process you guys think we should follow here?
What are the how do we count abstentions?
Abstentions are always the same as basically no votes.
Okay.
So as long as we get more yeses than nos, it will pass. So 1 yes vote is enough if no one else votes. All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, so Kathy, I'm hearing no one object to that process. Is that okay with you in terms of next steps? Because I know you were talking about going to the TOC, and I just wanted to make sure that I got everything covered in terms of a process perspective.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
basically, you're saying the work group is going to vote, right?
Yeah.
If there's a majority of yes, then this effort, we're going to have a separate sandbox for this project. Is that for the workflow?
No, the vote is just on whether the working group agrees with going forward to the technical oversight committee on proposing a new sandbox project. The technical oversight committee will still have to make that decision themselves, and they could vote yes or no, we don't know. But the purpose of us doing it is because the working group as a whole owns the workflow work. I figure they should have the right to say yes or no on whether to go forward to the TOC or not. So for example, if they say no, then we have a decision to make. Either it stays as it is, or if you feel strongly about it, or that if the workflow subgroup feels strongly about it, you guys could choose to fork the project and go forward anyway to the TOC. You just would not have the blessing of the working group, of the serverless working group as you go forward.
Okay, I see. So, okay, got it. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, yeah, I can't imagine a no vote, but you never know. People may have really strong objections for some reason. So,
yeah. So if there's objection, then so if the vote is no, then there are 2 choices. One is just keep as is. Another is we fork ourselves, right? The subgroup work.
Yes,
okay.
Basically.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But of course, if someone votes no, it's incumbent upon them to explain why they vote no, and maybe those are good reasons for not going forward, right? We'll have to see how the vote turns out. But yeah, those are basically the 2 choices as I see it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thanks. Mm-hmm.
But it does seem like with the increase in activity, you're getting closer to the point where you really should be a little more standalone and not hidden behind the serverless working group, because I think that would also give you more exposure too as a standalone project and get more people interested. So I think it can have a lot of benefits to you.
Doug, I think that there could be a third outcome.
Oh, sure. What's that?
Is either the feedback from us or even the talk says that there's more work that's needed and that it needs to incubate outside of being a formal project for some period of time, right?
Yeah, that is definitely true too. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I was trying to remember. I had a conversation with Chris Anacek about the possibility of just creating a brand new repo for it, because it was a little awkward for a while there, being under the serverless working group repo, because they had I had to give them basically access to the entire repo just so they can merge their own PRs, which was kind of awkward. And Chris was a little hesitant to propose them getting their own repo without them having some sort of official status someplace, kind of like what we did with cloud events. And so that's why we're heading down the TOC path. And so if the TOC says no, I'm not sure what to do about the separate repo kind of a thing. We'll have to decide that later.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, but you're right. There are probably other variants of options available. We'll have to see how it plays out. Okay. All right. Any other? Oh, and I should mention, just to reiterate what Kathy said, because I did mention this last week, and as a homework assignment for people to go back to talk to their respective companies to see if you're interested in the workflow stuff. And so obviously, if you are, please reach out to Kathy or just start participating through the issues and PRs and stuff through the serverless working group repo. Because as you said, they are looking for more people, and it is getting a little more interest now, especially from Red Hat. All right. All right. Any other questions or comments on workflow? All right, cool. And thank you, Kathy, for the update.
Okay, sure. I would like to add one more comment. So if you really like to guide the direction, help guide the direction of the workflow, I think it's very good, you join that effort to either review. It's very important to review those PR to provide your perspective and to maybe contribute some PRs. So I think that will be will make that spec more, better, and will be more healthy. A subgroup. Yeah, I would really appreciate, people joining that effort.
Yep, agreed. All right, thank you. All right, so we have no PRs to review, obviously. And as I said in the beginning of the call, we decided to wait until KubeCon and after KubeCon to work on the next items. And so as a reminder, the face-to-face meeting that we're going to have, which of course is this list here, is where we're going to have the discussion about what to work on next. So please do your very best to try to join that conversation. If for some reason you're not going to be at KubeCon, we will try to have the Zoom meeting set up and going, so people remotely should be able to participate. I'm not sure how great, what time is it? Yeah, it's not the greatest time for European folks. I apologize for that. But this was the only time that they could get us a room. But we'll see what we can do. Obviously, if you have some input in terms of which things to work on, feel free to add comments to this doc here, down here in the bottom section, and we'll try to take those into account. And with that, I believe we're at the end of the agenda. Are there any other topics people would like to bring up for discussion today? All right, in that case, two things. One, I do want to have a discussion with just the KubeCon folks who are going to be presenting, and let's do the final roll call. Ian, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Actually, didn't you have an SD? Don't we have SDK as well?
Oh yeah. After the KubeCon discussion, we'll have the SDK call. I forgot about that. Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And Tapini, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Jem, I have you. Matthias, you there?
I'm here.
All right. Did I miss anybody? Because I thought it's some.
David's here, but I'm late.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, David. Anybody else? All right. In that case, if you're not going to be presenting at KubeCon, you are free to go, or SDK discussion, you're free to go. Thank you guys very much. We'll talk next week.
Good.
Yep.
Thanks, Doug.
This is Tim. I'm going to stick around. I want to talk SDK a bit.
Yeah, sure. More than welcome.
Yeah, I'm going to lurk as well because I know Vladimir isn't on yet, I don't think.
Yep. Okay. Let's just give people a second to leave. All right, let's talk KubeCon. Clemens, are you still on?
Yes.
Yes, you are. Excellent. Okay, a couple questions I had for you. First of all, I allocated 30 minutes for your stuff.
Yeah.
Is that sufficient, given that I was hoping you'd also kind of cover the demo and talking about what we're going to do after 1.0, because I'm not sure you mentioned 1.0 yet in your charts, or post 1.0.
No, I didn't, because we have no official post 1.0 plan, do we?
No, you're right.
I mean, I'm always a fountain of great new ideas. It's just that the question of whether it's appropriate to present them in this form.
Yeah, I think my idea here was just to mention some of the ideas that we've brought up in the past and to give them a pointer perhaps to our, actually, oh crap, it's on Wednesday, not Thursday. So actually what's interesting is by this, we actually may have an idea what we're going to work on next.
Well, then I can go and insert that because we're dynamic and who cares about deadlines? And
that is true. Okay, so never mind. So either way, you're okay with either talking about what we may work on or what we decided to work on. One of these.
Yeah, and 30 minutes is plenty.
Yeah. Okay. And you can sort of MC the demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
If someone has the controller, then yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Or I can have the controller because I don't know how the back end of that works, how the magic is being triggered. But yeah, 30 minutes for all of this is going to work.
Excellent. Okay. Cool. All right. So after that, we then have the
Doug, one interjection here, which is the post plans 1.0 could also be potential future plans. Right. It doesn't mean the way it's worded there. It seems like here's what we will be doing post 1.0, as opposed to here are possible areas like we're talking about with the serverless working group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that help?
So clients go wild.
Yeah. I mean, we have some actual gaps. It's not that I need to be very creative here, right? We have security. We have security that we probably need to talk about. We have the subscription API that we need to talk about, and we probably need to have a schema registry of sorts. Neither are things that we need to invent, but it would be good to have an opinion about which ones we like. So these are three things which immediately come to mind, and there may be more when I start thinking about that. But those are the three that I think are the highest up on the list, at least for me.
Okay. Yeah,
we'll talk about that on Wednesday, and then we can go and jointly decide on what that slide ought to be, and then we'll present it on Thursday.
Sounds good. All right, and then for part 2, which was the rest of the session, I initially allocated 10 minutes per person, and here's my current list. I've reached out to Austin. I have not heard back from him yet, so obviously if I don't hear back from him, I'll remove him from the list. Can anybody remember who mentioned Tecton triggers? I can't remember if it was me or somebody else.
It was me.
Was it you, Scott? Did you have somebody in mind, or was I supposed to read out to somebody? I just can't remember what the status of this one was.
Oh, you were going to go reach out to the Tecton team.
Okay, that was my job. Okay. Thank you.
Right. The context there was that they're going to use cloud events, but they're going to hedge on not actually looking at the attributes and assume HTTP binary.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. I'll reach out to the Tecton folks. Thank you. Like I said, I just couldn't remember who took the AI there. And obviously, I missed the boat. Thank you. All right. So my question for you guys is, I guess one question. Jim, I think I confirmed this with Vladimir, but just to make double sure, he is okay with doing the PayPal stuff, right?
That's the current plan, yeah.
Okay, cool. In that case, is 10 minutes sufficient for everybody on this list?
I think it'll be enough for hours, because I mean, I think we're just planning to sort of give a very high level overview of where we're using them. So nothing too specific.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have any concerns with 10 minutes? I actually think you might have a little bit more because we have a whole 60 minutes. I don't think we're going to have 6 sessions. I think we're down to 5 already. I don't know if Austin's going to respond. But is around 10 minutes enough for everybody?
Yeah, works for me.
Okay. Klaus, you okay with that?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so in that case, for the Cloud Events session, is there anything people want to discuss, or you guys just need to find time to finish up the charts? Okay, not hearing anything. Let's skip over to the serverless session. Again, here, I just took a quick swag at timings. And Ruben, thank you for joining the call. So Mark, Ruben, are you guys okay with these time periods? And for those who don't know, Ruben is from Red Hat. He's been working with Kathy on the workflow spec recently, and he agreed to give us an update on what's been going on there.
Well, I wish it could be Tihomir, but he won't be able to travel. So yep. I'll try to be on his behalf. So definitely 20-25 minutes is enough, or more than enough, depending on how fluent I'm there.
Okay. Mark, do you need more than 10 to 15, or is that sufficient for you?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, that was my guess. Okay.
What's funny is that, I created some slides, and then I saw that you have some slides that you put together with the presentation, and they're somewhat oddly similar. in flow, but we should find time offline to consolidate.
Yeah, and like I think I've mentioned in the previous calls, those slides that I put together were strictly a copy and paste from our previous presentations, and you're under zero obligation to use anything I put in there whatsoever. It was just a starting point, so
Yeah.
it made us feel like we're making progress.
Yeah. No, I'll share with you what I put together, and then we can talk.
Okay, and I think I mentioned this someplace. I don't know for sure whether you guys could actually update the presentation behind this link. It is on Google Drive, even though it's not a Google Doc itself, it's a PowerPoint. If you guys cannot update what's behind this link, let me know and I'll try to figure out some way to get you a URL to the drive itself or something so you can actually update it and you don't have to go through me to do updates. I'm not sure I'm using Google Drive correctly.
Well, what you might have to do is convert it into a Google Doc for editing purposes, and then we can back it out into PowerPoint.
Well, what's funny is I think people wanted to use PowerPoint for the editing.
Ah, okay.
I don't think the format for presentation, I don't think matters.
Okay, good luck with that.
Yeah, so like I said, though, I think it's all in a shared drive. I think it's just a matter of me finding the link to the shared drive, because every time I try to get the link, it always looks like it's showing it relative to my Google Drive. And obviously I don't think that's going to work for you guys. So
I'm talking about locking.
Oh. Ooh, that's a good point. You can't lock through Google Drive, can you?
Yeah.
So let me ask this question. Would anybody object if we switch to Google Sheets or whatever they're called?
I don't know what this does to all the formatting and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, in the past when I've done this, it actually wasn't that bad. I've either uploaded it as PowerPoint and the conversion went fairly well, or I just did copy and paste and it seemed to work fairly well. And I don't mind doing the conversion if people want to switch over. But I just want to make sure no one's going to really object. So let me pick on one particular person, the Microsoft guy here, Clemens.
PowerPoint is a superior tool, and if you would convert it, you would all be foolish.
Okay, once we have that commentary behind us.
Well, you asked.
I know. When it comes right down to it, do you care though? Because I am worried about the locking stuff. I don't want people's changes to get overridden.
Actually, the collaboration stuff works really well if you store it on a drive that, well, anyways, I don't care. Well, if you were sharing this on OneDrive, then it would actually work quite well. But
okay, well let me ask you. Okay, let me ask. Since we have time to kill, apparently, could we use OneDrive instead of Google Drive? I don't really care. So what do people need in order to be able to do that? Do they need like a Microsoft Live ID or something like that?
No. I can if you give me the PowerPoint files, I can put them on my OneDrive, and then I can go and make a shareable link, and that just works.
But how do you control access to the shareable link?
By not sharing that link.
Okay, and it does support locking, I assume, right? Or are you assuming people use the online version of PowerPoint?
Online, but you can also use PowerPoint. It does. You can do collab. I don't care. If you all are totally happy with the Google stuff, then let's go and do the Google stuff.
Honestly, I could go either way. What do you guys want to do? Mark, let's see, who else is updating this? Mark, Klaus, and...
Don't care, I can do either.
Same for me. I just started already on PowerPoint, so...
Okay. So tell you what, since we haven't used PowerPoint yet, or the Microsoft Drive yet stuff, let's give it a try just to see how that works so we know for next time as well. So Clemens, you want to set that up and we'll give it a shot and see what happens?
Yes, I would. I'm very pressed for time right now, so let me. How do I get the action? Can you send me literally by email those files?
Okay, sure. Apparently, clicking on the link that's in here is too much for you, but yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
No, but it sits on this online thing, and I don't know how to operate this.
No, just click on the link and hit download.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, well, then I can do that.
Yeah, I figured you could.
Sorry for being I didn't want to be capricious.
I understand. So, but let me ask you one question that I still don't feel like I got a good answer to. If we upload this to OneDrive, is there a locking mechanism so that people can download it and use it in their own PowerPoint, but not have to worry about someone else changing it while they're editing?
There's versioning.
That's not the same thing.
There is also a protection feature, yes.
Is that locking?
Yeah, you can literally lock things. There's a protection feature where you can protect individual pieces of the presentation. Yes, and yeah, while you have this downloaded and you are looking at your own copy, it's not going to change magically under your feet.
Okay, just want to make sure. So
yes,
do people need to go out of their way to do that?
No, at least I have not yet had any problems of that sort.
Okay, because it seems like usually people have to do something to the system to let it know that I'm not just downloading it for viewing, I'm downloading it for editing.
Maybe I'm not understanding the problem well, but I have not seen those issues. Like the collaboration pieces, maybe they're not as dynamic.
So here's the problem.
Yes.
You and I both download the presentation at the same time so we can do a local editing on our laptops using PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay. I then make changes and upload it.
Yes.
You then make changes and upload it.
Yes.
You will wipe out my changes.
I don't think you will.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure of, because I don't believe you, but we'll see.
That does emerge, or it tries to do emerge.
Yeah, it does emerge.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. That's amazing. That's true. That is cool. Okay. We'll see how it plays out then. Cool.
There is this button that displays that you save your changes and pull in all the updates of other authors.
So. That is awesome. I've never tried it before, so that is really cool. Okay.
You're just supposed to add your name _ v2 _ final.
What? Are you trying to make a joke there, Scott?
Yeah, and if you have one, you say Doug _ final for reals 111.
For reals, got it. Okay, so
I'm gonna put that on my, and then I'm gonna put that on my regular OneDrive.
Okay.
1 second.
Wait. If you have a regular OneDrive, does that mean you have another OneDrive? Is that 2 drives?
Alan.
Sorry. Back in my box.
I'm still on Drive 360, so I can't play.
Great. No, it's all fantastic here.
Okay, we're digressing ever so slightly.
Yeah, we totally are, and I am literally on a tight schedule too.
Okay. So you'll set that up, send out an email, or post something into the SDK Slack channel. I'm sorry, not SDK.
Yes, I'm on my way right now.
Do we have a Slack channel for the KubeCon? We don't. Tell you what, I'm going to create a Slack channel for conferences. That way we can have this discussion offline. I'll invite everybody on this call to that. Okay, so back to the agenda. Time's okay for these guys. That leaves us with 35 to 40 minutes for all the BOF type session stuff and a discussion about what's going to come next, which we can summarize the previous day's meeting. All right. Any questions or comments about this plan? All right. Anything relative to KubeCon we want to discuss, or should we switch over to SDK work? All right, let's talk SDKs. Who wants to kick off the discussion?
Tim, did you have something?
Yeah, I did. I actually wanted to use the SDK to do some actual real work. So I picked the Golang SDK and raised an issue on it, which I note, by the way, this is a couple days ago. I got a friendly response this morning. But I just wanted to suggest a statement of principle, which is the way I think about events is as immutable things. Once I've created an event and want to ship it around, and it's got an ID and everything, I would expect people to have checksums on it and pass it around. Thus, I was kind of concerned in the Golang SDK that it was just a typical getters and setters thing. And the notion of having an existing event and just setting the type to something else or something like that struck me as weird, strange, and puzzling. internally here, we tend to have builder or factory kind of things where you set all the stuff and you say build and you get, and then the actual API for events has no setters. So, I checked, the spec doesn't say anything about mutability or changing or anything like that, the cloud event spec, I mean. But I just wanted to just sort of suggest that I think it would be a good thing for event processing APIs if they didn't have facilities for going and changing stuff in the events, because I suspect that's apt to produce bad results in a lot of cases.
Well, there is already an event context reader interface. So if you wanted to make it clear in your code that certain pieces of code are not allowed to change things, you could pass those around instead of just passing the writable events. At some point, you need to be able to construct these things. So it seems like it makes sense to be able to get and set the values when you're constructing it, though.
So I can see for this from the C# SDK perspective, because if that was a principle, we would have to imply that too. I can see having effectively interfaces, which then you can put on top of each other, where you have a get interface first, a read-only one, and then you have a read-write that effectively extends that one, and the event implements both, and then you can basically just pass the interface around.
Yeah, that's almost there in Go, except that the data attribute is special and is not so protected. It's true for all the context, so we could certainly provide that in Go if that's a desirable thing.
Yeah, we could also add a factory type thing where if you're an event producer and you have a consistent event type and other metadata, you can have some sort of object that you just pass in new data and it produces a new.
Yeah, I personally like the factory pattern, and then just have no setters of any kind at all. To the thing about the context in the existing Golang SDK, I was not clear at all why that was there, why it was a good idea. But I'm not arguing about the details of any particular API. I'm just saying that immutability is good, okay?
Yeah. We could certainly add an immutable version or representation of the event.
And that should be familiar to people that work with protobuf. Yeah, that follows the same sort of constructs of reading and writing interfaces.
Is this something that? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was just going to say I like the idea of being able to get and set as you're constructing it, and maybe having some way to lock it and disable all of the setters and make those cause errors could be another alternative.
Yep.
Is this something that we need to put into the that SDK document that we have? That's sort of like guidance for SDK authors?
Well, the spec actually says that the events aren't mutable.
It does? Where? I looked, I couldn't find that. That's interesting.
Each piece of middleware can add pieces of attributes. We did discuss a lot about is it okay if middleware edits fields in the attributes? And this came up because of how trace ID works, where spans and traces, the trace has to be consistent, but the spans get edited. And it doesn't make any sense to keep the span ID the same for each hop.
And what kind of immutability are we talking about here? Are we just talking about, avoid programmer error immutability, or actual signed, possibly encrypted immutability?
Well, as you know, for people who are constructing caches of various kinds, which are very useful in handling super high TPS applications, caching just based on some subset of fields would be nice. If I know the source and the ID, can I just cache on that basis, or do I have to hash the whole event? And if you're storing it into something like a modern log journal-based database, the whole idea is of, append-only immutable data structures are at the core of a lot of modern high-performance systems. And I don't want to come across like a crusty old functional programming geek, but I am.
Well, let me just scrape off some of that crust there. Yeah, no, I take your point. I don't think that we should have a lot of kind of requirements in the spec about that, because different languages treat that sort of thing very differently. Some languages have a lot of support for immutability. Go doesn't really have any, except for defining interfaces that don't have setters, basically. But yeah, I take your point, and we can certainly, and I mean, we're talking here about representations of the event. So the SDK is providing a representation that allows you to both construct and query events. If you were actually, if you're storing them in some database, you would probably be streaming them out in some serialized form and so on and so forth. So it's kind of.
I guess what I'm saying is that I have a fairly strong opinion that the SDK, if the idiomatic way to use it encourages people to treat events as immutable, I think we will have, by and large, happier users.
But that goes against how Go usually works.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Go tends to likes to represent things quite simply as, basically structs, and it doesn't have the notion of const members or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but sure. But if I make a type struct with lowercase field names, then I can't get at it from outside normally without an explicit setter.
Yeah, without
right?
it. So exactly. But so that's so just providing an immutable interface over the existing event would satisfy your requirement, because people who want to program in that style can use that interface, and people who don't can. Kind of getting set until they're happy.
I have a sort of a higher order question though, because I want to make sure I understand this. It seems to me that to put this as a requirement on the SDK almost feels a little bit odd to me, because I always look at SDKs as sort of like utility kind of a things, right? Because even if the SDK treats everything as immutable, you can get around that, because you can obviously use the SDK to create another event, and you can pass it whatever field you want. So you just take the old event, change it or field you want while you're calling the factory of the new event, and then use that as you go forward with your processing. So I'm wondering whether this is not so much a factor of whether the SDK should allow or disallow. I think they can make that choice if they want to. But if that's a big concern for a particular environment, isn't that more of an environmental concern and a choice for that particular business logic to decide how they want to manage these things? Or am I missing the point?
What you say is entirely true. That's why I'm suggesting that the SDKs would lead to happier users if the natural idiomatic simplest way to use them encouraged people to treat these things as immutable. That's all.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, if you have more suggestions, we'll try to work them in.
Yeah, well, I mean, specifically for Golang, I would suggest representing it as a struct with lowercase members and a factory or builder or something like that, and so that the event type itself would only have getters.
So I do think that with respect to the SDK doc, that we could say it is, preferred or best practice to try to keep it immutable.
Well, again, I think it's an issue of style.
It's a language issue.
I would be fine with having a getter only version of the event, but not with having no version with setters, because the factory pattern is a useful one, but there are also lots of patterns where people are going to be building events, over time, where they pass it through several functions, each of which adds some data.
Yeah, so that's what we do in Java. We have in Java we have a builder class, then it's got with source, with type, with detail, and so on.
Yeah, so I think we should certainly support the immutable style, but I'm not sure we should enforce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So what's the net result of this, aside from the Golang one possibly doing minor tweaks, was what I heard, lowercase the property names?
If you lowercase the property names, it makes JSON really difficult, because the JSON marshalers can't access the members.
We found it worthwhile to work around that. Yes, I agree that the JSON marshaller is annoying in that respect. Now, when you're, you can put JSON annotations on it. Annotation is the wrong word. You know, the little tags.
I don't think that works because the marshaller has to have access to the member, and if it's private, then how is
it does mean you have to write a type specific marshal method.
Yeah,
we
do that for the top level event, so that we can do versioning and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have that's why for me the strongly typed stuff is a wrapper around a generic dictionary effectively that has the rules on it, and that serializes the dictionary out.
Yeah, let me doodle on this, and we'll see if we can figure out a way to make it a little more immutable.
Yeah. I think it'd be quite straightforward to provide just an immutable version of the event as an interface.
Yeah. I mean, I have in C# I can actually put a lock on the updates and you know, basically declare the class as the state as immutable at any point. That's probably the easiest way. Like there will still be setters, but if you call them, you get punished.
I would say at the very least, for those of us who work on super huge distributed systems with journals all over the place, the ability to work in a clean way with immutable types is if it were hard to do that, that would be bad for us.
Yeah, that's okay. That's right.
Are you only targeting what V1?
I have to leave, but I put in the SAT channel, in the SDK channel. No, sorry, in the demo channel, I put the links or the files I put on OneDrive, and you try that out whether that's any good for you, and if it's not, then we can go back.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Clemens. And just to make sure it's perfectly clear, I'm not going to create a Cloud Events KubeCon channel. We're just going to use the Cloud Events demo channel. It's a private channel, and that's, I think, good enough for this discussion.
And that's where I put those.
Yep. Thank you.
And that's protected, so that's fine.
Yep.
Right. Sorry, I have to leave.
Okay. But thank you, Clemens.
Thank you.
Okay, so I can't remember who was going to. Someone was in the process of talking when Clemens started. Tim, were you talking, or was that Scott or Mark?
No, I've read my sermon. I will shut up now.
Okay.
It was me, Scott.
Yeah.
I think we're open to anything. I was asking Tim if the ability to support all the multiple versions of Cloud Events is a feature, or are you only targeting V1?
In our particular case, we're not looking at anything other than V1.
Because we were bringing a lot of baggage right now, supporting all the types.
I would think just strategically, having a really good, clean SDK at this point is a really important thing, and sacrificing any of that in order to deal with back versions, I don't know. Maybe you should have a separate V1 SDK, leave the existing one where it is.
Yeah, except we have production systems where 1.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 1.0 events are flying around.
I know the feeling.
Well, we're coming. Well, so at some point we're going to do a V2, and maybe so part of the goal of V2 should be to remove stuff that we don't really need anymore, rather than just to add features, so that we have a simpler. People can walk up to it and see more easily what is the path we're recommending they take.
Yeah. Yep. I have some milestones and some tasks. I've just been a little bit in a flux in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why. Okay. Anything else on this topic?
I'll just throw this out, since there are crusty and people in the room. We might get a reaction. So one of the things I would like to see in the V2 version of the SDK is a sender receiver like API, rather than what we have now, which is really quite modeled on the HTTP request response style of API. Because again, this exactly what Tim was saying about encouraging people to do the right thing. You know, eventing is not supposed to be a replacement for HTTP. It's supposed to be a way of achieving something different. And the big difference is that you should be thinking about, you send an event and you forget about it. You don't wait for the result of that event. There isn't a result. You've potentially got some errors to tell you if the event didn't get sent, and you've got some quality of service guarantees about, how likely it is to be sent. But you're not waiting on a response. And likewise, if you're receiving events, it's not because you sent events, it's just because you're receiving events. And I think that's important to make clearer in the API, because that's where you get benefit really from using events over HTTP, is when you're not, when you're using patterns that are not straight request response, like I send work to you and you send the results to somebody else and I don't care, those kind of patterns. So that's already the case in the binding API that we did for making it easier to write new transports and transport bindings. And so I'm hoping to do something similar to the client API in the near future.
Yeah, we had talked about duplex mode and single mode.
Yeah, we have some use cases where we need to preserve the request response pattern, but I would like to make that a kind of an explicitly different thing. So basically, your basic APIs are a sender which has send and a receiver which has receive, sort of like read and write, IO reader, IO writer, and then a requester where you send and you get back a receiver which will eventually give you the response.
Is that, are you suggest that for all SDKs or just the Golang one?
I think it should be the case for all SDKs. I think that's because that's the kind of the pattern we want to promote for eventing is you send an event and you receive. Sending and receiving are completely different things, and of course in an application you can tie them together to achieve things like request response or whatever kind of patterns you want, but that they're not. We don't assume that you're going to use it that way, and we don't place that burden on transport bindings that they have to be able to correlate requests with responses that way.
It seems like that might be a good thing to put into the SDK doc that we have, but unfortunately, we probably should not add that as a recommendation until we actually do it ourselves. So
agreed.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, that's a good point though. I'll make a note that if and when I get to implementing some of that, I will update the SDK doc.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments on that one?
So yeah, I keep getting feedback on the SDK internally from colleagues, and they see the biggest value always in having this way to marshal, unmarshal cloud events for the different protocol bindings, but they usually have the desire to control the whole the clients and everything on their own. So all those sender, receiver, and so on, they aren't really interested in this, I have to say. they are fine if they can do marshal, unmarshal.
Yeah, they have that option. They can click down to just the encoder version.
Yeah, sure. That's great that this is now easier. So.
Right. Any other comments?
Yeah, I wanted to add that, sorry, that I think that V1 is already supported for Java SDK, and just looking at the repository, and was updated 6 days ago.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's a PR for JavaScript right now.
Yeah. It's nice to see it's coming along. All right. Are there any other topics people would like to bring up? All right.
But, hey, Klaus, as you get those feedbacks, just make issues and we'll sort them into how we're going to sort it out. And same with you, Tim. Like, if we need to do anything or you need a different interface or anything like that, we'll make an issue and we'll sort it out.
Yeah, so overall, so it's yeah, been a lot of improvements, and it's really great to use it. So that's for sure.
Okay. One procedural question. I think the next scheduled call that we have, or the next SDK scheduled call we have, is in 2 weeks, which obviously overlaps with KubeCon. I'm assuming we don't want to have the meeting because everybody's going to be busy with KubeCon. Would you guys like to have another SDK meeting next week? Or actually, I was going to say push it out to the week after, but the week after would be Thanksgiving for the US folks. So I suspect that one would not be good. So we would probably not have the next meeting until December 5th. What would you guys like to do? Meet next week or wait till the December 5th? Or actually, I guess do both is the other option.
I'm fine with waiting.
Okay. Anybody have a burning desire to have a call next week? Otherwise, we're going to wait a month. Okay. And obviously, you guys chat through the Slack channel anyway, so we don't have to wait. But I guess for some of the folks who don't usually hang out there, for example, Tim, you were waiting for this phone call to bring up some of these discussions. Obviously, don't wait for the, for the full month. Bring up topics on the Slack channel if you have things you want to mention.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. All right.
And if we need impromptu, then we can always do that.
Yep, definitely true. All right. Last chance then. Any other topics to bring up before we completely adjourn the call? 3 calls in 1. All right, cool. In that case, thank you guys. We'll talk again next week on the regular call.
Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.